IGN reported here, Battlefield 6 has officially surpassed everything that has been released in the past 3 years or so when it comes to strictly revenue within its release date in the United States at least, which, let's be real, that's a massive feat. Considering it's easily one of the most lucrative markets for a game like this, but that's extra impressive because again, need I remind you guys, as also seen here from IGN, Black Ops 6 from last year was the biggest launch in Call of Duty history. So knowing this and now placing that against Battlefield 6's historic release, this means that in America anyways, that Battlefield 6 has officially beaten every single Call of Duty release, including its biggest with their launch, that's Battlefield 6 of the last few years. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. But it's not like it just happened out of nowhere. Obviously, Vince Zampella, who founded Infinity Ward back in the day, that made Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which if you ask me, that's still one of the most defining AAA releases of all time, alongside other games like Halo 3, which was responsible for spearheading and shepherding the eventual creation of Battlefield 6. Now don't get me wrong, Battlefield 6's campaign was still not great, but it was better than Black Ops 7's, which even to this day, I couldn't really tell you how Activision thought that campaign was a good idea or not. And also, if you want more non-corporate slop content, consider subscribing, liking the video, and all of that, thank you. But EA was at least smart enough to take Vince Zampella and just give him full creative control of Battlefield 6, and I mean the numbers just tell the story better than I ever could. As GameSpot reported here, when Battlefield 6 initially launched, it sold 7 million copies right out of the gate, which is huge, and by now I would wager it's well over 10 million, at least with the Christmas season on its way, where games like this will sell even more copies due to discounts and then some. Battlefield 6 is a massive success and a rare AAA win if you ask me. It also didn't run like molasses at launch and was actually stable. It's almost as if when you give developers the time to make games well, they will perform better. Wow, who could have guessed that? But Battlefield 6 and Black Ops 7 are two sides of that same coin, and every year these sorts of big wig companies are flipping it to see which side they're going to land on. Usually, by now anyways, we would hear the first performance of the latest Call of Duty title. Yet this year so far there's been nothing, which doesn't surprise me given the reception to Black Ops 7. I am also surprised how the initial somewhat good reception to Black Ops 7 as a full package has now soured in record time as well. So in case you forgot, originally Black Ops 7 launched to around an 84 or like an 83 on Metacritic, which for Call of Duty is great given their previous games. Anyways, if you go to OpenCritic right now to check this all out, as you can see here, well, Black Ops 7 is not doing so hot right now. 67% from critics, only 45% of them recommend the game, and the player rating is, well, abysmal as you can see. Even on Metacritic, it's actually gotten even worse. Like I said, 83 or 84 at launch, now as you can see here, it's at 70, and the user score is, yep, not great either. So this is yet another game that has not impressed anyone pretty much. I mean, it's just the same thing again, man. For example, as of this video going live, Activision just added Nuketown 2025 to Black Ops 7. And I just gotta say, dude, what are we doing? Isn't this the 7th, or I guess 8th time if we count Cold War, where this map has been in these games now? Does Nuketown really need to be in every Black Ops game every single year? Like, there's already 4 remastered maps in Black Ops 7 at launch. You got Hijacked, Express, Raid, and I guess now Nuketown. I just can't get excited about Nuketown anymore. It's like Shipment to me with Modern Warfare. I get why they're in the game, it's because they're small so people can farm experience with their guns and levels, but like, dude, can we just get new, smaller maps instead? At what point do we realize we're just playing the same content over and over again? Is that not boring to you guys? I personally have zero interest in Nuketown or Shipment anymore because I've played those maps like many of you guys 100 times and then some. Besides, you can level your guns playing all the other modes anyways. Anything is more fun than again spawning in that backyard in Nuketown to run between the 2 buses in the middle to shoot people as some guy probably snipes you from the upstairs bedroom, or I guess from the garages on either side. Oh boy, can't wait for another round of Hardpoint on Nuketown. Oh, what's that? The enemy team is hiding in the corners of the living room again? And let me guess, there's a guy on the stairs that's looking down as you run up as well. Isn't it crazy how everything I just said, I guarantee you that anyone who's played these games before, all of your brains, you just mentally mapped out and knew exactly what parts of the map I was talking about with Nuketown? Probably down to the furniture in those rooms and the colors of those walls. Just go up the the stairs, and look, there's a desk there on your right, and then you turn left, and you go to a bedroom, and then you jump out, and there's the buses again. Like, which just kind of proves my point, you know? Like, we've been here and we've done this. It's time for something new already. Look, I get it. Call of Duty is fun to play. As I said before, it's virtual junk food. Sure, it offers no real substance. It's not going to make you get any meaningful gains, but it's like when women enjoy watching trash reality TV. It's basically that, but, you know, with guns and kill streaks. So I totally get why people play these. How I play these from time to time myself. But by God, do we need something new? It's great, though, that players are kind of just abandoning Black Ops 7, though, because it just needs to happen. It's wild, however, that we're about a week into Black Ops 7's release, and the game is already down to 69,000 players on Steam, as you can see here. Battlefield 6 is routinely sitting at around the 200,000s on Steam, and it only dips below that when people have to go to work, which, I mean, makes sense for obvious reasons. It doesn't help either way, since places like comicbook.com, for example, had articles just blasting Black Ops 7 too. As they also reported here, Black Ops 7 had the worst debut on Steam for this series so far. And this leads really nicely into this next story, but in case you just don't know how to unlock the endgame mode for Black Ops 7, which is pretty much an extraction shooter mode, you need to beat the campaign first, and I guess now a week into its release, Activision has now decided to just say, you know what, screw that, and then just jump the gun.
Staring into my eyes is ill-advised. I can't promise you'll like what you see.
Whether this is always intended to happen a week later or not, I obviously can't say, but it is interesting timing-wise either way. Since the campaign got so much heat for being terrible that Activision probably realized that this game mode would have next to no players unless they just made it available immediately. And that's probably for the best in the future that they never do this again. Don't tie any specific game mode-wise exclusively behind completing what is arguably your played mode every single year. And even more so this year, because the campaign was just straight doo-doo fees. I still can't believe that I played a campaign where I was unironically shooting spiders and zombies with a specialized Black Ops soldier. Like, what do you think sometimes, man? But Activision has confirmed that they're going to give XP tokens to players who suffered through the campaign, which I guess is a nice bonus, but it's still not going to wash the nasty out of what I had to play. But again, all of this stuff I mentioned is plaguing Black Ops, and Battlefield is kind of just sitting there pretty unbothered and having a blast pretty much. As Game Rant posted here a few days back, EA just flat out declared victory over Black Ops 7, which, man, that must have felt good to do. And I mean, again, Battlefield 6 is clearly becoming the player's choice over Call of Duty, which if you're a fan of COD, that probably annoys you. But let me tell you why that's actually a good thing. You see, you do want Call of Duty to fail. I know that sounds stupid at first, but just let me say this. You see, when a franchise goes on for so long uncontested like COD has, where they're making boatloads of money year after year, churning out Nuketown or shipment reskins constantly, eventually complacency becomes their new normal. Think of it like someone who's really successful, okay? They'll keep replicating that same formula until eventually it just stops working. And Battlefield 6 is that big fat wrench that's being tossed expertly right into the gears of Call of Duty as a machine, and now nothing is working as intended. This is actually good news, because Call of Duty needed to be roundhouse kicked in the neck for once, and it's been a long time coming. And now that they're on the ground, looking absolutely stupid as Battlefield just threw them around like Mini-Me and Austin Powers in that one scene, where Austin puts Mini-Me in the burlap sack, and then, like, you know, smashes through the furniture. Like, I love those movies. But anyways, that's Call of Duty right now, okay? They're covered in glass, they're bruised, they're beaten, and now they've been humiliated. They've effectively hit rock bottom, and now that they've smashed their fists against it, they now know that they need to prove themselves again. And it's actually in that phase, the rebirth, if you will, that many games will come back better than ever. How do I know this? Well, because Battlefield 6 is in that phase right now as we speak. Like, think about it. Battlefield was a joke for almost 10 years. Battlefield 5 was mired in stupidity and horrible netcode. By the time they figured themselves out, most players already walked away. Then they did 2042, which again didn't have a campaign mode, and like 5 was a horrible mess at launch with terrible matchmaking, stability, and all the usual slop problems games like this happen to go through. Battlefield was like Black Ops 7. They had that moment, however, for years. They too were at rock bottom, laying winded, bewildered, and beaten, as Call of Duty was twerking on their corpse for years just uncontested. Activision was making billions. Battlefield was lambasting in mediocrity. But because of that failure, because players left and don't play other things, EA then finally realized they needed to get their act together. And like I said before, they then brought on Vince Zampella, the mastermind of Modern Warfare design, and told them, here, take this franchise and make whatever you think is best. And then boom, it did better than all the games Call of Duty released in the last couple of years.
Fulfill our pact! Suffer the...
Cheeks up, half asleep is called
well, here comes another. Here comes another.
So it is only rationally now means that now DICE curb stomping Call of Duty should then bring them also back to consensus too. However, the problem either way is that Call of Duty is a yearly franchise. We all know it's probably going to be Modern Warfare 4 next. Well, at least maybe. Well, I can't even say that definitively, but my hope anyways is that if Modern Warfare 4 is coming, then hopefully it's more like the first Modern Warfare, as in Modern Warfare 2019, not the 2001. Again, just double naming things in franchises is stupid, but you get the point. Because if you ask me, Modern Warfare 2019 was actually a good game. I really liked it. The campaign was great. Multiplayer was fun, besides that one map in London. In like the Times Square area, like god, that map was awful, but the rest of it was fun. Modern Warfare 2 then came out, and that was where Infinity Ward already started to lose the plot. And then by Modern Warfare 3, they had their Black Ops 7 moment pretty much, where they just went off the rails into WTF land. So here's hoping that Modern Warfare 4 is like the first one and actually has the time to be great, but also that it needs to be cooked long enough to ensure that it doesn't end up as Black Ops 7 or Modern Warfare 3.5. However, there is another big wrench that could get tossed into Activision's system next year, which is of course Grand Theft Auto 6. Because if Battlefield 6 was able to ruin Activision's plans the way that they did this year, you can bet that GTA 6 is going to be even worse. I can already hear people saying, but they're different genres technically. Well, you see, when it comes to GTA 6, that doesn't matter, because nothing will be safe when that game inevitably releases. You could be a Japanese role-playing game. You're still going to get cooked by GTA either way. So let's say that GTA keeps its release date of November 2026, okay? That's usually when Call of Duty drops new games. Even if they were to move their Call of Duty game to October that year, they could enjoy a single month, maybe uninterrupted, unless something else comes out that ends up stealing the spotlight like Arc Raiders did this year. But either way, this then puts Activision in a bad spot, because if they do release in November, their players will leave for GTA 6. And if they wait till December, it'll be even worse, because GTA will then be solidified and operating at full capacity at that point. Basically, every single online game that has battle passes or live service stuff, which is like all of them pretty much, let's be honest, they're all going to be hemorrhaging players when GTA 6 inevitably drops, like no matter who or what they are. So what can Activision do then? Well, they got three options. Either the new Call of Duty comes out in August or September at the latest next year and just tries to make as much money as possible before it all falls apart and years of work goes down the drain once GTA 6 drops, or option two, they release it at the same time frame as GTA 6 and they will just get, annihilated, or, and this is probably more likely, Activision just delays the next Call of Duty till 2027, maybe January or February that year. But that would also put a wrench in their own systems now too, because if they do that, what happens to the future games then? The next Call of Duty, which I guess could be probably Black Ops 8 maybe, or possibly some World War game, comes out then in 2027, that following November. Wouldn't that just reduce their next two games by like a 9 or maybe 10-month window at best? Like I said, there's really no way to go around this, but GTA 6 is just going to screw up the flow for everybody. But again, maybe that's what needs to happen if you ask me, because once GTA 6 drops and it gets its live service world going with GTA Online, everyone is going to have to work harder to justify their games existing now too, regardless of genre or platform. I really wouldn't be surprised if Rockstar has a battle royale mode for GTA planned either down the line. You just drop everybody from a plane over the city, you all just go hunt each other. That's gonna make them millions of dollars. And if GTA 6 is anything like GTA 5, which it probably will be, same developers and all that, it'll have team deathmatch and racing car games and all the other things too. So even Fortnite will feel the pinch as well. So it's not like this mass exodus of players is only because of Battlefield, because even Battlefield will also be staining their pants when GTA drops because nobody's going to be safe from it. Maybe unless you're Nintendo, I guess, because obviously GTA won't release there anyways, but in Call of Duty's case, the changes might be more rapid than we already thought, as IGN reported here, that Call of Duty's campaign phase might be over due to how disastrously bad Black Ops 7's reputation was affected by it. It's no small exaggeration to suggest that Black Ops 7's campaign was so nuclear bad that it staved people away from even buying the game clearly. It was also a co-op campaign, more so meant to be played with friends or randoms than really by yourself, because the plot mattered little. And every time I played this campaign with randoms, I was just making fun of the story and gameplay with completely random people. Like, for example, I beat the last 3 missions of Black Ops 7's campaign with like 2 random guys that were speaking full-blown Spanish the entire time we were playing. I had no idea what anybody was saying. And half the time between the gunshots, I would just hear someone's mom in the background yelling at someone, or like a baby crying. Truly a Call of Duty experience for the ages, if I may say so myself. But nobody cared. IGN even brings up how this year's campaign doesn't even have the signature cool moments of older COD campaigns where things blow up and you run away or anything like that cinematic, because again, it would be frankly impossible to do with 4 players at the same time. And as IGN puts it here, it just may be over for campaigns in Call of Duty, and they blamed it on how bad Black Ops 7's campaign truly was. But IGN then also brings up how Activision has lost the plot by pushing bullet sponge boss enemies in a Call of Duty campaign. There's even full-blown boss fights where you fight single human combatants that just take thousands of bullets to take down, as they just teleport around the map. Like, it makes zero sense at all. Like, gone are the days of all gillied up, where you're sniping a guy and actually taking him out with 1 bullet. Now, if your gun, even in a campaign, isn't of a high enough rarity,
alright, let's finish this fast.
One-shot a literal, just like, you can't even kill like a normal dude for me. Like, it's so stupid. But IGN also brings up stats like this one.
Witness my rise.
Black Ops 6's campaign last year, which is not a whole lot of people for the amount of investment given there. You see, I think if Activision wants to remove campaigns for good, they just need to be honest and upfront about it and price their games accordingly. So, if Call of Duty launched every year at maybe $40 to $50 max with just multiplayer and zombies, I do think it would still sell well and people would actually be more inclined to buy it pretty much. But the problem is that Activision doesn't want to lose that full premium price point no matter what. So they will just instead opt to include a tacked-on campaign mode, even if it's lazy to justify the price point. Otherwise, they'll just make less money. But I think if they priced it like Arc Raiders, their games would have better reputations and better community engagement too. And they can also make up the difference in money, hopefully through other means, I guess, if they want to. But knowing Activision, they won't do any of this because Call of Duty needs to be a live service premium product every single year to make those billions of dollars like they usually want to. So I guess they'll continue to do the same thing no matter what, but I guess time will tell. However, this is clearly a massive problem for Activision, no two ways about it. Their biggest competitors are currently crushing them, and like I said in other videos, if it's not that, it's the refunds due to the AI use or all the other sorts of problems that are plaguing these sorts of games. Basically, Activision needs to get their act together, but with how they're structured, I'm frankly not sure if they ever will do that. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments as always. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, take care of yourselves, but it's good to see that the mighty have fallen. Now, let's see if they have what it takes to climb back up to the top. If you've been playing a ton of new games in 2025, you've probably started to realize that the vast majority of great games that are coming out are surprisingly not from the mega publishing giants or even the AAA studios these days. There's plenty of amazing games that have come out in 2025 that can't exactly be defined as AAA experiences, either because their budgets are, well, too small or they're just not fully priced. Yet despite all of this, the games that are currently getting nominated across the board, they all have something in common. They are not AAA games. Sure, there's a few, but largely speaking, this does ring true. But then there's been a seismic shift in all of this, how the gaming industry has to tackle with the fact that just maybe for most, the AAA bubble, it's burst. And the examples are proving that people don't want to keep buying expensive games that require massive financial investments to keep on playing, and I can prove that to you. Let's first go look at the the Game Awards, or as I like to call it, the Jeff Keighley Awards. As you can see here, you have Claire Obscure, Death Stranding 2, Donkey Kong, Hades 2, and while they're not in this photo, below these games is Silk Song and Kingdom Come 2. So all of these games have been nominated for Game of the Year. Donkey Kong, while AAA technically because it is Nintendo, it still had a much smaller budget than say Black Ops 7 or anything else. Death Stranding 2 being nominated is, well, I mean, I platinum Death Stranding 2, and honestly, I don't think it deserves a Game of the Year nomination myself. I kind of honestly hope that Kojima just moves past that series for now and makes something else, if I'm being honest. But again, it's the Jeff Keighley Awards, so Jeff is gonna get his buddies nominated somehow, so not really surprising. But outside of these two games, the other four are all either AA or indie titles. Hades 2 is made by a very small team over at Supergiant Games, and while I haven't played Hades 2 myself since it's not on PlayStation yet and I'm biased and only want to play games on there mostly, I have played all the other Supergiant's games and they're all pretty great, so I can only guess that Hades 2 is like their other games, but even better. So yeah, that makes sense why it's here. Kingdom Come 2, I found to be an uneven experience. It had some redeeming qualities, sure, but overall that game sort of disappointed me in the end. I also beat Silk Song and enjoyed it, and that game was only $20, which is really annoying the AAA industry as well, because it only costed as much as a store bundle in other games. And of course, then you have the obvious winner for Game of the Year, which is going to be Claire Obscure Expedition 33. There's honestly no real way it doesn't win this. I frankly can't see any other game beating it in this category, or even others. And just like all the games mentioned, Expedition 33 is also not a AAA game. It retailed at $50, yet had more content than most AAA offerings around it. It also had 0 microtransactions and had a robust endgame with tons of customization and secrets to uncover. Man, it took me like 90 hours, I think, to 100% clear Obscure, but I did it, and I enjoyed it a lot. But again, looking at all of these games nominated, they're not really AAA, besides, I guess, the Monkey game, and Jeff giving Kojima an honorary mention, I guess, to, I don't know, make his feelings not hurt or something. But like, the real battle for Game of the Year and other categories have actually nothing to do with AAA games pretty much. And it's also not even surprising that, say, Battlefield 6 or Black Ops 7 weren't nominated for much either. It's as if the industry knows that the true diamonds in the coal are games not being made by teams of 1,000 people all around the world or something anymore. Another game almost completely non-existent at the Game Awards, thankfully, was Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was made by Ubisoft, of course, and that does not surprise me one bit, because that game was, it was not good, dude. Because Ubisoft has, in case you don't know, they've been having a really rough year, and apparently they got bought recently too. I've been hearing from people that it's Tencent, but it would actually be hilarious if like Microsoft bought them, because then Ubisoft's games would be really dead, because that would be horrible, dude. But I doubt anyone but Tencent has bought them, given the circumstances surrounding their situation. But I think what we're seeing this year from the Game Awards nominating multiple indies or AA games is not really by accident. It's no longer a coincidence that this sort of story just keeps repeating itself every single year. It now feels more like a symptom that what's really happening at its core is that the industry is clearly starting to realize and move away from what AAA gaming used to define. Not entirely, of course, because things take time, but it's wild how you could take the budget of Black Ops 7, which if its budget is anything like previous Call of Duty titles, then Black Ops 7 likely costed somewhere in the hundreds of millions of dollars to make. I mean, Cold War was like 300 million plus to make, in case you didn't know. What's wild is if you take the budget of a single Call of Duty game, you could easily finance the development of multiple Game of the Year contenders this year and still have money left over. Expedition 33, for example, is seen here, was rumored to be made for under $30 million. Some reports claim that it had a budget of just 10 to 15 million, which for you and me, that's still a lot of money, I know. But for a video game these days, that's pretty much peanuts. Again, Expedition 33 retailed at $50 USD. Silk Song was $20 USD. Hades 2 in full release now is only $30 USD. Like, you could buy all three of those games for the price of like Black Ops 7 and maybe a store bundle or its battle pass if you want a comparison, which is, you know, kind of insane, but that's what I mean, that the game industry so clearly wants to stop making these Black Ops sized games in favor of something smaller. They want to make more games that are affordable and less costly, because if a studio has one big screw up with a game that has a Call of Duty size budget, like Ubisoft has had not once but multiple times this year alone, like again, look at Ubisoft. They're cooked right now, dude. They stopped their stocks from being trading recently. They stopped everything. That is not normal. And And also, if you want more anti-slop, anti-corpo content, consider subscribing and all of that. Thank you. But I remember when I was told by Ubisoft people that besides Shadows costing hundreds of millions of dollars to make, that their other big mega flop of the year, which was Skull and Bones, which was just a massive misfire, dude, from Ubisoft, that also costed them hundreds of millions of dollars down the drain in like 10 years of development time. Like, this sort of development just, it can't continue. Look at Black Ops 7. The only reason why that game is what it is because it's just full of recycled content, full of remastered maps, a campaign stitched together with duct tape and string and more, and just, it's ridiculous, dude. Because Activision, even at the top with all their big budgets and whatever, thousands of people working on these games around the clock, they still can't meet their own deadlines in time. So they cut as many corners as possible to ship these things out the door. And that cycle isn't working anymore. And if it isn't Call of Duty releasing a new game every year, barely hitting their release dates, it's just games that are in development hell forever, like Grand Theft Auto 6 or stuff like The Elder Scrolls 6. Games that have been in development for almost a decade at this point. This can't be normalized or allowed to continue. You can't have a studio making a game for 10 years. It's not really feasible. Because let's be real, a game taking that long to make runs the real risk of coming out just being outdated. Unless they completely revamp the gameplay system maybe a year or two before launch. Like, let's take GTA 6 as an example here. Okay? That game's been in development before things like battle royales and battle passes even really existed. And comparing it to the TikTok era, like, it doesn't make sense. It's why what people have anticipated. Even Ubisoft recently has been found complaining, saying that, oh, people don't want to buy new games or our games anymore, which has led to struggling sales. Like, here's an article from IGN, by the way, where Ubisoft believes that people want games that are not full priced, but instead subscription based and free to play instead. Oh, Ubisoft, you always get so close to understanding what people want, but then prove exactly why you're going to get bought out and effectively erased from history because you continue to not understand what people actually want. Like, here's what IGN cited from Ubisoft as
Freeze! 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 I got careless.
Transfixed!
Freeze! Freeze! I got careless.
This is where you fall.
It still stands that if you go look at Rival's store, you have some bundles close to $30 Canadian for like 2 outfits and some other stuff. So if I buy 3 of these store bundles on Rivals, I just spent as much as I did in Canada on, say, Black Ops 7 pretty much, and 2 of those store bundles in Rivals. I mean, they cost more than Expedition 33 and definitely more than Silksong. So it's no wonder that the vast majority of people are instead opting to play games that are just, well, cheaper in total. Arc Raider's success is because of the cheaper model too, the same way Silksong did what it did because it costed practically nothing at release. For example, here's an article from Games Radar about Silksong, where even indie developers were angry about how cheap Team Cherry was selling Silksong for back in September, because the game was high quality, but again costed about as much as a single gun bundle in Call of Duty. It brings me back to when RJ Lake, a game developer, which also recently made fun of Arc Raiders publicly and openly criticizing Team Cherry, overpricing Silksong so low as seen here. And I'm paraphrasing, but RJ believes that the game's price in Silksong is a no-brainer purchase, but having such a low price is also a problem because players are very bad at knowing how much it costs to make things these days. But RJ would continue by saying this: millions of people will probably buy Silksong on day one, and it was a game that had a very low budget because the budget is these developers worked on it without direct pay for however long they wanted to do that. It had a these developers are independently wealthy budget of effectively $0, but RJ would then continue. They can price however low they want. As a result, their return on investment investment is infinite no matter what they do. But by charging such a low amount, they are causing lizard brain signals to fire off saying this kind of game is worth $20. You should expect this game for $20. As you can see, the problem is not just at a AAA level, but, indie as well. The thing that always happens, as I bring up quite often on this channel, is that whenever a game does break the mold and actually gives players what they want, these developers usually don't really celebrate these games openly, but instead get really angry about them because they're either too cheap or giving things away for free, whatever that means, or there's no way we can meet that quality, therefore it's now unrealistic. They said the same thing about Expedition 33 as well, because again, it was a $50 game that really destroys games that are like $70 or even $80 at release these days. It's as if whenever games do try to change things, these people they kind of just want it to stay the same. So what are we supposed to do then? Just keep consuming the same kind of games over and over? We're supposed to be okay with, let's say, Call of Duty releasing their overpriced game packages that are not only full price at release, but will also have store bundles that cost varying prices as well? Not to mention, you gotta buy the battle passes too, and then some. Like, why is it so hard to understand that there is happening, that people are kind of just done with
Overruled.
you have to accept expensive games after expensive games.
You two! Time to end!
Why is Ubisoft devs, by the way, if you know that. But other Ubisoft devs who also left and went off and they made another game called Dispatch, which you may have heard about, but if you look here for PC Gamer, the projected 3-year mark of copies sold in just 3 months of sale, which is, yeah, that's a good thing. Now, I haven't played Dispatch myself yet, but hey, it's another smaller game made by a team of passionate devs that, being sold for a fraction of the price of your latest Call of Duty game. Like here, for example, Dispatch in Canada, where I live, unfortunately, is $39 for the entire episodic series. So then, yeah, it's less than half the price of Black Ops is what you're telling me. Wow, who could have guessed that it would do so well so quickly? Obviously, it's because of its quality, which people keep praising, but again, it's because the game is also not full price. In fact, it's about the same price as Palworld when it released in Canada, and alright, Palworld sold something like 8 million copies in a week, and then Nintendo got so mad they wanted that game erased from existence. Like, you're likely seeing a pattern here, which is that the game industry, especially in the West, is being splintered, and more developers are actually running away from AAA development to start their own smaller studios, and I mean, who can blame them? Because this is frankly the only way to get actual real games made again. I mean, Black Ops 7, for God's sakes, has 10 studios working on that game. 10, dude. One of them is High Moon Studios. You know, the people who made those excellent Transformers War and Fall of Cybertron games? Man, wouldn't you love a third game in that series? Too bad. They're now being forced to make Call of Duty until the universe gets sucked into like a black hole one day, which really sucks, because so many cool games could be getting made today, but instead everything is safe corpo slop. Like, if those developers that made Expedition 33 and Dispatch were still at Ubisoft, they'd probably just be working on Assassin's Creed for the rest of time, and we would never have even gotten these games to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, imagine how many great games could be out there right now, but these developers are being chained to the ground to just make the same franchises over and over and over again. Like, that is a problem.
Ad Astra Abyssosk. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild.
Trying to do something different are being praised these days, and that's
Thank you for completing today's commissions. Here is your reward.
Silksong is more of a threat than a boon to the industry. It kind of just tells me that the ship
Ad Astra Abyssosk. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild.
33 and Dispatch should be the norm. Games that are just fun and have good content that is worth the money you spent on it. And it will never sit right with me that games like Call of Duty thought selling like a King Kong glove for $80 basically in the past and try to push it off as normal. So what we're seeing in games is a revolution. I really don't know how else to put it to you. The best way we can change things is by buying and playing games that aren't made to dime us or talk down to us or make you feel dumb for having bought it in the first place, like Black Ops 7 did. Of course, it doesn't mean that these AAA games will disappear forever. I think there will always be a market for these big, expensive experiences. After all, Battlefield 6 recently confirmed that it was the biggest selling shooter of the year, which means that yes, despite Black Ops 7, it could not